Because really, there isn't anything I can't do. Because if anyone can, Manny can. Do you guys ever get pushed around a lot? Like, they tell you, hey, do this or do that. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you don't want to do it, but then someone or something comes around and says, hey, why don't you try this or why don't you try that? Or they send you a remind every day. Have you done this? Have you done that?
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's
God.
happened here before. Which is why I want to introduce this guest here today. She has a bachelor's degree in Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, a master's in San Diego State, a teaching credentials at Cal State San Marcos, and former graphic designer, currently a middle school teacher, and one of my mentors, or I can say great friend of mine, Kristen Josephson, aka Miss J. Please welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Manny. I'm so happy to be here. And you you really caught me off guard there. I was already laughing right away.
Yeah,
um,
I mean,
oh, oh, that's awesome. Um, it's great to
for
be here.
for the people that don't know what I meant pushing, remind. Well, for those of you that don't know Miss J, she's done a lot to the. I don't. I guess you could say community. You know, she set up a bunch of clubs and organizations and helped students in. Well, started in a small group to a now bigger group, which we'll get that into that later. But first, Miss J, I want you to walk me through your high school career, the young Jay that no one really knows that I discovered a little bit barely this year. You know,
Oh,
talk through us through that those steps.
you already got me, Manny. You already got me. um, okay, well, yeah, it never occurred to me that we really never talked about my upbringing. I mean, I think that when I met you, we got so busy and involved. Everybody, Miss Whitney, Miss Velasquez, you. I mean, we were so busy. I guess we never had time to talk about it. But yeah, I was in sports actually since I started in second grade. And the other day you said, "What, Miss J?"
Yeah, to this
I,
day, I'm like,
I was. Well, my dad was an athlete and he didn't have boys, so we played sports and specifically softball and basketball, the sports that he played. And I played I played all the way through my life until senior year, and it was awesome. I learned a lot. I looking back, I realized, there were some low points, like not really feeling a high self-esteem. And I remember one of the biggest memories or regrets was, like, a coach asked me to be the team captain and I said no. And I look back at that and I'm like, what was I thinking? But I realized I
yeah,
just wasn't ready for leadership. I was scared. And so I just said no. But looking back, I mean, you asked me for some information and I dug up those articles, or my dad did, and he sent it to me and I sent it to you. And I was looking at it,
yeah,
and I think the author or the writer literally referred to me as a leader. So I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I guess I was. I just didn't, know it. Um, I didn't know I was a leader at the time, but I guess I was. And I did well in school and I got some awards and I got into Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, my dream school. So it all worked out. I learned a lot from high school.
yeah. It's not hard to be a leader, but it's hard to discover yourself as a leader. You know, people like to call me a leader, but it's kind of tricky. And taking that role takes a lot of opportunity because one, well, you got to take care of yourself, and then you got to take care of the other people that are overshadowing you. And I don't know what you were thinking, but it's something we look back at and we leave that in the past. You know, so I forgot to mention at the beginning how you been, how you doing, how's this whole pandemic treating you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm happy that my family's okay and my friends. I have a mixed set of emotions. In one way, I'm anxious because I always worry about everyone, my students, my colleagues, my friends, family. And I think back to my family and my dad always talks about his grandfather who died 100 years ago in the last pandemic. So that's in my mind. On the other hand, I've observed so many awesome ex- things in during this pandemic, including people like you who are making podcasts to inspire people. So there's been a lot of creative content that has emerged out of the pandemic. So you know how they say something good can come out of something bad, and so I really believe that, and you're showing me that, Manny.
Yeah, it's this whole podcasting. It's been an idea. I want to say at the beginning of the year, and then like I mentioned, being pushed. I had to tell you and Miss Whitney, well, I don't know if I can continue with this. I kind of want to make a podcast, and then somehow we're here. We made connections. I started learning for some reason. I learned how to write emails and do Zoom invitations, and
I know. Now you're collaborating with my mother, who's a writer, Judith Josephson, and she's writing a book about you. You're collaborating with my father, connecting with his network. You're connecting with Whitney's network. I mean, all these different people that you didn't know before, and now you have that confidence, and you're taking over.
yeah,
You
it just shows if you want to do something. How my buddy Jay said in the previous podcast, if you want to do something, there's always a way to do it. You just gotta get up, and it's kind of crazy because if we revisit middle school me, yeah, nothing alike. But we'll skip middle school for later. You got into Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, and tell me about that. Were you already thinking about be going into the educational field or
No, no way. I come from a family of professors and teachers, so that's part of my life. But when I started, I was totally into graphic design. I worked for printing companies, and it was really a great experience. It was just that I wanted more, and as when I graduated, I wanted to pursue more school. So I went to get my master's, which led to me thinking I was going to become a professor. And then I mean, literally, when you asked me about why I became a middle school teacher, it was when I graduated from my master's. I woke up from a dream. It's just a random dream, and it said in my dream I was going to teach middle school, and I woke up and I was like, I think I'm going to teach middle school. That's
and
literally how it came about. But
there you
I
are.
I think it ties in back to Cal Poly days because at Cal Poly, I got a lot more confident and I got a lot more. I mean, I was involved in high school, but even more so in Cal Poly, and I spread my wings. I joined groups like the Filipino Cultural Exchange and the Multicultural Center, and I learned about other cultures and I took risks. Like I learned how to break dance. I don't know if I ever told you that either. And it was
And
so,
no,
it
there's a
was
lot of things I don't know yet. And I did it for almost 8 years.
No, yeah, and that's why I love hip hop. But that club I was in, the Filipino club, I learned how to break dance, and it was hard. No joke. I mean, we were on cardboard. I had bruises on my back. We performed in a big performance, but it all like boosted my confidence. And also, I see how it came full circle at Mission because we were doing the hip hop club and kind of doing similar things to what I did as a 18-year-old or 19 or whatever age I was in college. Doing some of the same things. You were doing some of the same things.
Yeah.
You came out to the crowd and you were doing your little moves, and everybody was screaming, and it was just so cool to see it all come full circle. So yeah, I mean, I love my college experience and my grad school experience, and I think it all led to my decision to be a teacher. But there were many steps along the way,
Yeah.
including a small time period when I was considering getting into the music industry. I think I did mention that to you, right?
Slightly. It was through, I think it was a day in middle school. I was in seventh grade, right? Because you could only join hip hop at seventh grade at the time.
Right.
And I think I was feeling sick. I can't remember. But they didn't want me to go to pee because at the end of the day, it was hot. I was dehydrated. That's what it was.
Oh yeah.
And it was one of those heat wave days, and they didn't want me to go out. So then you were at the office, and then you're like, "Well, how about we go work on some music since you're gonna be the hip hop DJ?" And for some reason, I see Usher, and then we start talking about him, and then all of a sudden you bring up, I used to work for this label, and I'm like, wait, what? Man,
Yeah.
so I mean, you can tell us more about that.
Well, a really neat thing about college, and I mean, I know you attended a high school where they have internships, but most high schools don't have that, you know? So
Yeah,
I, and mine didn't have that. So it wasn't until college that I started doing internships. I did it with a lot of graphic design oriented companies like advertising agency and magazine. But when I got to grad school, I wanted a little bit more, and I always loved music. I played instruments. I probably never told you that either. I played flute and piano, and I still play piano now. Growing up, I did. And
yeah,
one of my grandpas was amazing pianist, and I guess it kind of passed on to me and on to my cousins and family. So, anyways, I interned at my favorite record company of all time that was called LaFace Records, and it was a black owned company, which was so amazing. So I interned there for about 6 months during college. I'd get up super early. I'd drive from San Diego up to LA. And, at that time, Usher was on the label, Pink, Outkast, TLC, different groups like that. And it opened my world once again to different experiences, and I gained confidence, and I realized I still use the skills I learned there, with my students today,
yeah.
with the hip hop club at Mission, and then now at my other school, and just I incorporate music every day. Oh, you're wearing the hip
Speaking
hop
of hip
shirt.
hop, I
I should
brought
have
it
worn.
for this show. I
Oh,
brought it for
that's
this show.
awesome. I should have worn my hip hop shirt. I was trying to be professional, but
It's all
uh,
right.
yeah, next time. But yeah, it was a great experience, and I decided after that experience to not pursue that career, but I still use the skills that I learned at LaFace in my work.
Yeah, there's a lot of skills that you learn, and you might not even go in that career, and then all of a sudden you're using them with hip hop. You use your Filipino club to teach kids how to dance or make these moves, and then with the label, for some reason I learned how to mix music. You know,
Exactly.
I mean I haven't done that in a while, but
You were
back in
good.
middle school,
Yeah.
back in middle school, and I would call it in my prime days because I'm retired from dancing.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing. Like when you mention sports, yeah, I literally feel like I retired at 18, but I did it almost my whole life. So yeah, I mean, you have certain things that you do, and then you retire and you move on to the next thing that you're going to do. And yeah, I've actually retired from hip hop too, because now I don't coach it anymore, but I did it for years, with
And then
you
it's
and
still
other
a club
students.
going on.
Yeah. Now I'm doing more art. I still do an art club or graphic design club. So
Yeah,
I'm more in that world. We're making huge murals, which is what I have done for many years, but you kind of grow and you developed. I'm really pretty intensely involved with the college club, which I was before, but I would say more now. So
yeah,
life
with
life evolves.
yeah. I have mentors. I have a bunch of mentors, including you being one of them. And we all got mentors. So who were your mentors? And then how did they help you? I don't want to say make decisions, but like help you with the things you've done today or grow.
It's when you asked me that question in advance, and it was so hard to pinpoint one person. Your original question said, "Tell me one person," and I just couldn't do it because there's so many people to mention. So I listed all the different groups of people, such as my parents, my grandparents, many of my relatives, neighbors that were pivotal in my life, family, friends, youth leaders, and coaches. Of course, I played sports, so I had lots of coaches, teachers, professors in undergrad and graduate school. Shout out to Dr. Levinson from Cal Poly and all my professors, and Dr. Samovar from grad school. And then I had counselors that were awesome, colleagues. I have bosses. I mentioned to you one of them was Miss Harris, and she has mentored me for the last over a decade. And even my students, and even you, I know this probably sounds weird, but
Yeah,
you really developed into my mentor in many ways, just your outlook in life. And I know that's true for many people when it comes to you. And I also, Manny, I feel like I have mentors that I don't even know, people that I have that have inspired me online or in books. There's one person, and he wrote a book called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. His name was Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer. And I read a lot of his text, and it really helped me. And the funny thing is, when I think about it, that's really you, that embodies you. Change your thoughts, change your life. I saw you in 6th grade change your whole thought process, and
Yeah,
it changed everything for you.
you can say that because I want to. Was it sixth grade? Yeah, it was sixth grade. Everything was with me was so different. If I were to look back at it, I remember having that conversation with the sixth grade after the fuel up. After I, you asked me, so what do you something about college? And I instantly, I didn't even think about it. I still remember to this day, and I look back. It it low key haunts me a little. Why did I say that? I said I don't think I'm gonna go to college. With my disability and this, I don't think I'm gonna be able to manage it. And then 8 years later, I'm already gonna finish my first semester of college.
Yeah, I feel like I remember meeting you early in 6th grade, and you were super nice and super positive. But when I started digging and asking questions like, hey, would you consider hip hop next year? You kind of were like, well, I don't
Yeah,
know, my disability, and you had legitimate concerns. And you said, I've got to check with my doctor. And that was true. But I feel like that day when Fuel Up to Play 60 came, Andrew Luck, Kendall Reyes,
yeah,
that gave you a little. I remember one of your essays you wrote. It kind of gave you a jolt, and it kind of switched things. But then it got you thinking, like, wait a minute, maybe I can do it. And then by the end of 6th grade, it was on. You were like,
yeah.
all
Uh,
right, let's
all right,
make
let's do
plans.
it.
And then really, I mean, you were so busy. You were in like every club that I sponsored, and you had, I don't know how many t-shirts you had, you know, uh, representing all the different the clubs. You were doing technology inventory for the whole school. You presented by 8th grade. You were presenting to people you didn't even know, a whole college panel of adults, students, and talking about college with your colleagues. And you were dancing, as I mentioned, in front of everyone. And of course, you were heavily involved in Mission Television, aka MTV.
Yeah,
And you produced a video called Manny Can with other MTV colleagues that is still being played today.
yeah.
I play it
Y-
for my students.
when I go around town, usually to the grocery store or pick up my siblings, I like Manny, Manny. They're like, people say they know me and this. I'm like, wait, I don't even know you. Who are? It's just
Yeah.
crazy how the power of, I don't know if you would call it social media. You start with one thing, the Maricam video. That's like over 5 years old, and then like you said, people are still talking about it.
Yeah, it's really amazing. You had a life-changing experience by making that video, and I feel like Mannequin is something that is leading to your career, which is that's what's unique about you, Manny. When I talk about myself and I say that, yeah, in high school I had insecurities and even college, I mean, it took me well into adulthood to realize the things that you realized at, I don't know, age 12 or 13. That's pretty amazing. And you are a really good example for all of us about, not wasting time on those negative thoughts. I saw you transform and you got rid of that. And since that time that you transformed, I haven't heard you complain. And that is what's really unique about you. It's like, it's really strange because
Yeah,
most of us complain, and you have the right to complain more than most people for many reasons that you've of things that you've been through.
yeah,
And yet you're all, whenever I talk to you, you're always talking about, hey, I've got this plan, I've got this going on, this is exciting, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And you say it about other people too, whether it's me like when I won the teacher of the year, you went in front of Cox Communications.
Yeah,
You just told me before we started that they dusted you
yeah,
with powder. That
yeah.
is
The
so.
our first ever interview. Uh, I was, yeah, I was in eighth grade, just a young teenager, and like what, getting ready for an interview. And then I remember that we're just gonna touch up your nose, the powder thingy. I'm like, oh,
That is
okay.
so hilarious. I had no idea. You were wearing your Andrew Luck shirt. You were so nice to talk about me because we needed a student to talk about each of us. But you've been there for other people too. It's not just about Manny, it's about, helping the world. And so it's funny because when you asked about my mentors, I think a lot of the things I say to you are some of the same things that were said to me, but I didn't really believe it. I didn't internalize it until years later. For you, you took it in like you as if it's medicine, and all of a sudden you were like, I get it. So that's the thing. You're teaching all of us to learn the lessons more quickly. Don't waste all those years complaining,
Yeah,
worrying, feeling bad. I listened to your podcast with Jay Paris, and some of the things that you said and he said were very wise about learning from your failures. When I was listening, I was like, oh my gosh, she's so right. as
yeah.
as a teen, I was paranoid about failing. If I didn't make the basket, if I didn't get the A+ or whatever, it was just a tragedy. And I look back and I'm thinking, that's so silly. But
It,
I didn't know that.
it's one thing I've learned. I mean, we can all learn from it. Failure is what makes you a great person. You know, like they said, you gotta learn your mistakes before you start being correct or winning. However it goes. You know. And then we touched a little about my middle school background. I It's so bad when I talk about the college club, how it started. You know, before this, he talked about how he started in the Bay Area with a small group of students from. You can go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I was really lucky. Speaking of mentors, there was a woman named Dora Ficklin. She's from Peru. I joined this school as a new teacher. I had moved and I knew some Spanish, but it was a bilingual, like it was essentially a bilingual program, but it was a program for newcomers. So you kind of needed to know Spanish.
Yeah,
It
and
was
then now he says Spanish. I remember in middle school, I was teaching these Spanish.
Totally,
Yeah,
totally, totally. And so that was I just immersed at MI in this program. It was called Bridge to English. It was an awesome program. Senora Ficklin took me under her wings, and I met all these students from Mexico. I had a few from El Salvador, and but mostly from Mexico, and specifically from Michoacan. So it was a specific area, and so I was so lucky to receive that mentorship. And that's why another reason why I always try to mentor other people,
yeah.
because I've received in every step of the way of my life, there's always been someone there mentoring me. And so, yeah, these students, a lot of them were very interested in learning about the colleges and they didn't know anything about it. So we would meet, and we didn't even call ourselves the college club back then. It was just an informal group. And I mentored some of them through high school, and it was really awesome. So when I got the job in Escondido, we continued with that process with mentoring students. And I'm going to tell you, Manny, it's not just about college. Not every person I've mentored went to college. It's just more about,
Learning
in a way,
about it.
yeah, and
Yeah,
learning about it, but also kind of like life coaching, like, hey, you can do it, believe in yourself, that
yeah.
kind of thing. And
Even
yeah,
even if I didn't get into college, you still learn a lot just by sitting there like how- from 6 to 8. Yeah, 6 to 8, 2 hours. Sometimes we go overtime, and you learn about how to properly write an essay, some professional, and how I don't know if I mentioned it already. You know, sending out emails, getting in contact. I remember how to get in contact with the University of San Diego admission of just for one question.
yeah, that was crazy. And I mean, it really grew because when we were back, when I was back in Redwood City in the Bay Area, it was a small group of students at my school, and then sometimes some high schoolers would come visit, and I'd mentor them. And the same thing happened in Escondido, but actually, I don't even run a college club at my current middle school anymore because there's an Avid program that takes care of that. But we have continued this idea of mentoring at Starbucks. Well, we can't right now. We do it via Zoom, but we meet, and
Yeah,
it's grown into this group of students from a variety of high schools. And now we've got a student up in Oakland that's in our group.
yeah.
And now we have this legacy, like you're part of the legacy. I mean, you and 11 other students did that internship with us this summer.
Uh,
So you weren't playing video games during this pandemic. You were, you know, writing
but,
advice and documents for us. Okay, Miss J, this is what I recommend they do on resumes. This is what they should do for interviews. And you were giving all these really amazing documents that I've passed on to students as advice. And I
uh,
thank you and all the other students for doing that.
yeah, it was a fun journey, because we even said it at a meeting at our panel when the two of us joined, and we were helping the newcomers. We even said it. Someone said it. So one of the mentors said, "It's all the payback that is critique on our essay."
Yeah, yeah. And our mentors have grown too. Now, one of the mentors is my former boss. She was my principal last year, and Miss Harrison. Now she's in it. We have Miss Gross, who is retired, and then we have teachers that we've been doing it for a long time. Whitney and Velasquez, and we got Miss McGivney, and then we have Miss Giles, who I mentored back when she was in high school. And then I mentored her when she was getting into grad school, and now she's become a mentor. And
And
now
just
you all are becoming junior mentors and interns, and it's just so awesome. So yeah, I think this could go for a long time because it's kind of a group effort. And I have to give a shout out to our students this current college club year because it's very different than what you experienced, Manny.
yeah,
They, I haven't even met most of these students or any of them, and maybe a few of them. I'm sorry, a few of them I met because a few were in hip hop, but for the most part, they're students I've never even met in person. We're doing it through Zoom. We still do Tuesday nights, as you said, and we
yeah,
do a 5 to 8 window, but they don't have that luxury of being right in person, moving tables, chit chatting. Do you remember you and Chris? You and
yeah.
Chris. I mean,
I was gonna say that
yeah.
you meet these people, you learn so much about this, and then you can tell the story.
Well, here's Manny, Latino American, growing up as Escondido, and we have Chris. He's also growing up in San Diego, but he's got Canadian American roots. Very different experiences in their lives. And one day you guys started chatting, just took a break from your college apps, and you realize you were both experts in a subject. You're an expert in sports, and Chris is an expert in politics. And you both realized you were not experts in the other subject, and you started collaborating and sharing stories and teaching each other. And it was so awesome because you were truly expert. As Jay Paris said, you know more about the Chargers than anyone.
Yeah,
And so you were teaching Chris the baby steps of learning about sports, and then he was teaching you the baby steps about learning about politics. And it's so neat because I really feel that even the kids now that are doing Zoom, I feel like you're all building a network. I feel like you were networking before you knew about networking.
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if 10 years from now you're like, hey Chris, what's up? Hey, I've got an opportunity. Do you want to come on my podcast? I don't know what's going to happen, but I can see it
Yeah.
happening.
Hey, we joked about a couple things here and there. I mean, it's interesting because, like you mentioned, to the kids in this current college club, they don't get around, walk around, switch seats. Compared when I was there, I remember that one night when I was like so tired because at the same time I was managing soccer and then college club. I was so tired, and one of you made me walk around Starbucks, and then the
Oh,
people
yeah.
there, they were comfortable with it because
Yeah.
we were there every week.
Yep, yep. That was Velasquez. Remember, she'd make you do a spin around the
Yeah,
room
I
because
like
you just get tired. And so, and you didn't have to do that, Manny. You could have said, I mean, there were a few times that you missed college club due to
uh,
some critical sports games on TV. But for the most part,
At
you
TV or live?
no, no, you're right. It wasn't
They
even
were
TV.
live.
You're like, sorry guys, I can't make it. Why can't you make it?
I'm in LA.
Cough, cough. I'm in LA. I remember that night we started laughing. I'm like, LA, I'm sitting here after work volunteering, and he's at a Charger game. What is up
No,
with
it
that?
was actually a soccer game.
Oh, soccer game. Sorry,
Yeah,
but
one of my good high school friends, closest friends. His mom was a advisor or advertiser for Jerome's, and they wanted to get this team from LA wanted to get sponsored, and then they're like, "Hey, Manny, you want to go?" I'm like, college club. I can work on my essay and get it done,
oh.
or I can, or and miss this one in a lifetime opportunity. And be like, you know what? I'll go to the game just for this one week.
Well, Manny, although you're a very inspirational person and you've been inspired people since you were in 8th grade, you were still a teenager.
I'm a teenager.
And you still pulled the teenage moves in high school. And yeah, I guess you're technically a teenager still, but
Yeah,
I see a huge shift though, because I'm you're the one contending us. Okay, I've got the Zoom ready. I've got my notes ready for our meeting. And so it's a totally different feel, even from a year ago. I used to be, and the other mentors, we were the ones that would reach out to you. Now it's the opposite. You're the one seeking the opportunities, reaching out to us, networking, and it's so awesome to see. You're teaching us. So the tables have turned, but
yeah.
yeah,
Tables have turned. Yeah, they sure
yeah,
have. I'm the
uh,
one sitting at the end of the table now.
yeah, that's right. And interviewing us.
So okay, so the college club. Obviously, you started it up in the Bay Area, and then there's gonna be at one point where you might have to step away from it. Do you see this club expanding more, like former, what do you say, students taking over?
I do. I totally do see that. I do because, I mean, look at what you're doing. You're kind of already starting to do that, and so are other students. I mean, we have students that are jumping in regularly at college club, just showing up. So yeah, when if I'm in a situation where I can't do it anymore, and let's say I become rich and famous and I move to Hawaii, and you can't I'm just kidding.
Go
Aloha. And I'm just so I'm so
ahead.
so then I feel that the college club and the spirit of the college club is in good hands. And because you all, I think you get it, that you know that you have that obligation to give back. I remember when I used to hound Miss Harris. I was an instructional coach at my school at Mission, and I used to go and ask her so many questions, and then I would feel bad about it, and I'd say, oh, I'm not helping you at all, and she would say to me, it doesn't matter that you're not helping me. I want you to go help someone else that needs it. So that idea that, Manny, you're going to go help someone else. It's like this cycle, and you end up growing out into the community and past your community and
Yeah,
helping people. So it's like I mean, have I helped all the people that mentored me? Not really. I mean, all my coaches and my family, I mean, somewhat, but not really. I can't compare to what they did for me, but then I can give back just as much to other people. So that's kind of my philosophy of life. And it's really my greatest joy of life is just giving back.
yeah. I want to revisit last year, but before I ask the next question, last year, from what you told me, was the biggest turnout of members. Correct? My year.
Oh, yeah, your year. Yep,
Yeah, and we
definitely.
we were all seniors,
Yeah. Oh, that was so
and
crazy.
it was crazy because we would stay overtime, or we would like till the Starbucks kicked us out because they were gonna
Oh,
close,
totally.
or
Totally.
there was this one week where you were always supposed to meet with one student, but everyone kept coming every day for a group. That's how me and Chris started the whole "I'm gonna teach you this and that." What is the advice for someone who is thinking of starting their application process, or when is the right time?
Well, um,
Obviously,
yes.
not us. Don't
Yeah,
go through our exam.
I know. I
You
was
don't
like,
want to. You don't want to pull that string.
Oh my gosh, you read my mind. I was like, how do I say this delicately
You don't
without
wanna.
I know
I'll
you,
say it. I'll say it.
I
You
can't.
don't want to. Don't pull heartstrings, because let me tell you, if sleep is your number one priority, you might lose it if you start your senior year.
Yeah, I mean, my students are middle school students and they often think I'm crazy when I talk about college. And again, as I've said before, I'm not saying every student needs to go to college. Like it's up to every person. I feel like every person just needs to pursue something that they really enjoy. And it could be something that takes a short amount of schooling or a long amount of schooling. A lot of jobs now require some sort of class, like even if it's one class to get a certificate or 3 months or half a year.
9 months, yeah.
Yeah, and I always say just I lean towards getting something where it requires training because then it means that not everybody knows how to do that, right? Like I could never go and take blood. I don't know how to do that. I'm not trained in that, right? There's so many things that I'm not trained in, and if you become trained in it, all of a sudden you're more versatile. So I mean, you're learning how to be a journalist, and not everybody knows how to do that. So you were asking about what my advice is for students, and I always say start early, and many of the mentors would say that as well. And I think it's kind of a culture. You're building a culture in your life, even starting elementary school, just being uh, having that attitude that you're a lifelong learner, being excited about learning and not looking at it in a negative way and pursuing your passions. And I saw you start doing that in middle school. You started pursuing your passions with reporting.
That's
You
when I
there's
discovered it. I'm like,
yeah.
you know what? I can't play, so why not? Like Jay said, I can't throw a perfect curveball in college, so why not talk about the thing I enjoy and love and get paid for it, you know?
Yeah, so when I say to students, sometimes they think I'm crazy in middle school because I say, "You're starting that process now," and they're like, "No, we're not. It's so long from now." And I say, "No, you
That's
might discover what you want, just like Manny. You discover it at age 12 or 13, and you're pursuing it 10 years later. So it's never too early to think about what your passions are." And so that's why I like my eighth graders to actually write down their experiences before they leave. I like them to write it down in the spring because then they have a record of all the experiences they've had so far. Because I've learned from the students, from you students, when you were seniors, that you end up writing your essays about your lives. So it's great to have those notes and those experiences jotted down. It all comes together in one big package. It doesn't just start in ninth grade, it's your whole life.
it really does.
Yeah, you're good or you're bad. And it's funny because I didn't apply to UCs and I think I was afraid to, but if looking back, I would have had some things to write about because I could have talked about decisions I made, good or bad, that kind of drove my life, like not accepting the captain position or the team captain position. And so that's what's so cool about the college application process is that you can dig into yourself. So now if you're in a high schooler, and my advice is start early. We have a student that's in the college club this year that's in 10th grade. We have students in the past, like a student named Jesus that goes to Chico. He started in ninth grade. And then that meant that he could go slowly but surely and work on it each year. Unlike your group that started,
Yeah,
August, August.
we had a how did it, I think it started with Juan. Juan's like, hey, college, Miss J, Whitney Velasquez, they're hosting college club. And then I'm like, you know what, Juan, I'll do it. And then from Juan, and then lastly, Chris, some co-workers, son, and that's how we grew.
Yeah, yeah. So I think we have a junior right now that is really working hard. She's working hard at starting to work on her essays now, even though she knows that the prompts may change. But in general, with
You have an idea.
yeah, when you apply to college, even when we were applying to scholarships back a long time ago, they usually ask about your life experiences, your activities, the good, the bad, and you write about yourself,
Yeah.
what your passions are. And so that really hasn't changed.
And
So
then
I think it's really smart to start early.
and then I remember one of the questions there, volunteer experience. You know, with times now and circumstances, it's hard to get a volunteer experience because some businesses they're like, well, COVID this, COVID that. You
Yes.
know, with COVID, I think I wanted to say thank. Okay, I don't want to say thank you, COVID or whatever, but I don't know if I would have started this podcast or helped out and during the summer with College Club.
Yeah, you know what? I've never worked as hard as I did this past summer on the college club, because even though we didn't have a group formed, we didn't really know who was going to be in it until
Yeah,
around July or August. You remember when March broke out, that fateful day,
and
and
it was the day when we're getting, did we get in or did we not? So we were
yeah,
just texting because at the time we couldn't go to Starbucks and be like, I got in.
I know, it was crazy. And then we were able to spend a lot more time with you and all the other students, figuring out, looking at the financials, figuring out what was feasible, and all of you made your decisions, and then you transitioned into that internship that we created. And again, this
Yes.
is all volunteer. We're not an official organization, but you all helped create loads of documents that are
And then,
so valuable to the current students.
yeah, I think I built a strong bond with the College Club back in middle school because I just fell in love with the things you guys do. I just like helping out. And I forgot what day it was. I sent you one of my favorite players, Isaac Rochelle, defensive end for the Chargers. He's partnered with Local Human, and they're giving a 10th grader a tour to any college of your choice, fully paid. You know what? I'm gonna send this to Miss J. She probably has a sophomore in there.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. I need to send that out. I forgot to do that. But look at that. You're now seeking out the opportunities and sending it to us as well as the other students. So we really appreciate that, because we're working as a village, and we're
Because
helping students.
one thing, starting as a college club member, starting late, one thing that was missing was those scholarship applications at an early process.
Yes, definitely. And it's something that we've has always been a challenge with the college club. We try to encourage the students to apply to scholarships, but they all get so busy with the regular college applications that the scholarships kind of go to the side.
Yeah, that's why
And,
you
and
start early.
yeah, you start early, and we've had students, that have been super successful, Ellie and Pedro, that are now at UC schools and have received scholarships, fellowships, and that's awesome, and many others. And it took their extra time and their extra work to apply, to write the essays. So where there's a will, there's a way, right, Manny?
There's always gonna be a way.
Yeah.
You gotta dig out and find it.
Yeah, I can't wait till you've created a Manny Can Foundation and you have a scholarship. So, yeah, I mean, I think you could be a big part of this in some
Yeah,
way.
it right now. I'm starting small, but I haven't told anyone yet this. But my goal after the whole pandemic is to get a studio for Mannequin.
That would be amazing. That would be
Because right
amazing.
now, unfortunately, with the circumstances, I have to do this through Zoom, which is it's not bad. I'm telling you all. If you guys want to see a guest, Zoom is the perfect way right now.
Yeah, yeah, you're doing it. You're showing us that you can make life worthwhile during the pandemic, even though it's hard. And many of the students in the college club are showing us that just by hearing their stories, being ASB president, doing all these things during COVID through Zoom, they're still being leaders. Some of them are really politically active. You're doing your podcast. So you're all showing us how to handle adversity.
All right, Miss J. Well, that's it for me. But I know you have the $1 million question that you've been asking, and I've been dodging every year.
I know.
But I'm ready to answer it here. Want to tell the people?
Okay. So I have been asking you this for a long time, ever since you went through your transformation in sixth grade. I still don't really totally get it, but I that's why I ask you every time. How do you maintain your mannequin positive spirit?
How do I maintain that mannequin spirit? You may be wondering. Well, let me tell you, I my she mentioned that you never see me complain, and let me tell you, it's hard to believe because I do complain, but not in front of people. My problems are my problems. I don't want to share it with everyone else. It's hard, especially now with COVID and things going on. I try to stay as strong as possible, but I like to look at the bright stuff. If you're positive, you can make someone else positive. If you bring some positive energy, happy energy, someone's gonna be happy. So honestly, you gotta look about it. What are you gonna get in return? I get a bunch of compliments and smiles out of it, and that's one thing I like. So I guess I stay positive that way. I don't like to bring anyone down. If I'm trying to make this a happy place, you know. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. It's why I said, and I totally mean this, Manny. There's been times back in the day when we were at Starbucks and you would walk in the room and okay, you're 3 foot. What? How tall are you?
3 4. Just say 3 4 4. I'm not sure yet.
3 foot four. Okay. You walk in the room, but I am positive that people aren't looking at you like, oh, look at that guy. I feel bad. No way. It's literally like celebrity status. I'm
Yeah,
telling you. I don't know how to explain it. It's just that when you walk in the room, it feels like the whole room changes. And that's amazing that you have that influence on people and you notice people smile more around you. And so it's cool that you admitted that you still complain at home, I guess, and you have, you're not a perfect person. Okay, that makes me feel better about myself.
and
but
that was perfect.
but I it's so awesome that you it's really important to you to show that to the world because you know that people look up to you of all ages. They look up to you. I remember them playing mannequin at our board meeting and the room was packed and it was just you could hear a pin drop and everybody's listening to your story. Tears are coming down the faces and not tears of sadness, just tears of joy. Like you're
Yeah,
such an inspiration. So I appreciate that you realize kind of like Andrew Luck sitting next to you, or any of these people that you talk to on Instagram, these famous football players, that you realize you have this power in a sense, and that people look up to you, and so you show that to everyone, and I
yeah.
really appreciate that because you are changing the world. You're a pivotal person in this day and age. You're a pivotal person, I believe.
An example of that was back in eighth grade, the Escondido Youth Media Festival. My documentary didn't win, and
Right,
then I could have trash talked all the other videos, be like, you
right.
know. Instead, I went out, and then while we were walking to the car, I see a man and his family coming in. Man, he can't high five. He inspired me. And then I think that's the reason why I do things. Sometimes it's not about winning the whole time. Well, not winning the biggest trophy or reward. It's winning the people.
Yeah, no, that's so true, man. I mean, and you did win awards. Let's be real
Okay,
here.
I did, yeah. But
Not at that event, but you did.
not at that event, yeah. My
But
community.
yes, no, it's true. It is more important. That's the legacy we leave, right? Manny, when we're dead and gone, someday it's like it's really all that mattered was how we impacted people. That's all that
Yeah.
matters. And
I
if we're
think,
nice to people, and even the people that aren't nice to us, treat people with kindness because if they're not nice to us, we know, wow, there's a lot going on. I know that you mentored kids in high school. Your colleagues in high school. I remember you telling me stories about students who were feeling down and you helped them and guided them kind of as a life coach. And I said that in that teaser video.
yeah.
I mean, I
It's,
think you're a future life coach. I mean, you're already doing it and it's amazing. And I thank you for it.
yeah, I don't know. I think myself and everyone else around me, that's how it starts. Well, Miss Shay, I don't know if you have any more questions or anything you want to say to the people. Where can they find the college club or learn more about it?
Well, okay, I'll just say a few things. This is what I said to you in middle school, and I think you've taken it to heart. And it's something that I learned later in life, but always advocate for yourself. believe in yourself, and don't worry about those negative opinions. They don't really matter. Just be a good person. So that's my best advice for people. And then as far as getting in contact with us, because we're not a business, we're just a volunteer group. Right now, we don't have any social media accounts, but stay tuned because if we ever do, whether we have a podcast, we write a book, who knows? I
Oh,
will I will be coming back to you and say, Manny, can we go on your show, please? So I will, you'll be the first to know. So I'll keep you
I
posted.
keep us posted. And then one thing I'm trying to do with my guest is getting rid of the word can't and putting can at the end of their name. So if you say it with me,
Okay.
if, three, two, one. If Manny
If
can,
Manny can, Miss
Miss J
J
can.
can. Woo!
Thank you all for listening. Make sure to follow us on our wherever you're listening to our social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, and subscribe if you're watching the YouTube version, the video version. And that is Manny Can with another episode. And I will see you all soon.
Thank you, Manny.